So the entire network was like the elections was rigged. Then they came up against the company which was giving those voting machines to help enumerate the vote. Remember, in USA, it is still paper ballot, but then machines are used to calculate the vote. And so, in fact, this voting company, the machine which Dominion voting system, which provides the machine in US, they sued the Fox News for their repeated publication of untrue claims that the company was saying that how the voting machine switched votes from Trump to Joe Biden. And before that the thing comes to trial, Fox News paid some $787.5 million to Domino voting system for an out-of-court settlement. So in journalism also, what we see is this, how false news are repeatedly spread. Then there is a case a bit dated, but Jason Blair, I don't know how many of you remember his name. He was an upcoming reporter of New York Times. And in 2003, it was found out that he was systematically fabricating, plagiarizing articles which was previously published by somebody else. And when it came out, it was not that Jason Blair had to lose his job. New York Times, which had a more than 1.5 century years old publication ethics, they had to profoundly apologize for their what you would say, that they could not check him. And two of the managing editors, if I'm not wrong, General M. Boyd and Howell Raines, who had to lose their job because of this problem. Another important, in today's world, especially 24/7 news, we have this news anchor who becomes bigger than life. So Brian Williams, again one of US, he was a popular news reader of nightly news in NBC, and in 2003 he claimed in 2013 he claimed that when he was reporting in for Iraq in 2003, a missile hit his helicopter. So that was something he was claiming as a journalist. And then in 2015, one of the soldiers who was actually in the helicopter which was hit by the missile recalled that Brian Williams was not a passenger to that helicopter. And Williams had to lose his job at NBC. In India also, if we look at, lot of these kind of studies have been done, especially Cobra Post and other have come up, and it was not published much in the elections. Before the election, it came out with a fictitious name of some kind of religious organization which wanted to promote soft Hindutva and all those things with different newspaper articles. And Times of India, in India Today Group, the New India Express, people from their editors, they were talking with this person that how they will come up with advertisement in their publication in lieu of money. So obviously when this thing broke up, the different newspaper groups said that, oh, we already knew, we were just trying to see who that person was or something or other. But these kind of unethical practices still very much practiced in India. We are just not aware of it. If you remember it correctly, the entire election thing, that election bond thing which Supreme Court struck down, it was a journalist from, I think, Mint, who came up with the idea. Initially, government said that they had no way of tracking who was buying those bonds. And then this journalist came up and said that secretly, under ultraviolet ray, you can read out that SBI, with the bonds which SBI was giving, has numeric codes through which people can know who was giving out their bond. Initially, SBI was not just gave out the list of people who had bought this bond and list of political parties who have received the bond. When the Supreme Court came out strongly, then they finally published the name. Just one day before the 2024 election, I think SBI published the name of people and the political organizations who have given the bond. And then journalists went out and find out how there was some quid pro quid happening over there. A EB raid would followed by political donation to one particular political party. So these things were happening, and these things are happening in India too. It's not that but obviously somehow other some of the things which institutions should do is missing, and that is where we find that this kind of lack of what you would say a drag between what we publish and way we go on about it. So, in coming back to academics, so what we do with this problem, how the world is dealing with this problem. Initially, this thing came up, World Association of Medical Editors. We call it WAME. WAME was founded in 1995. It is a non-voluntary association. The idea is to promote cooperation among the editors of different journals, and to say how they can self-regulate their editorial standards, especially in context to medical research, and what they should do and what they should not do. Remember, when we talk about affecting humans, some of the most important things which normally comes up is from medical science. Obviously, in social science, we do not so much physically harm the individual. Although, as journalists, if you may remember, this one famous picture, I'm just forgetting the name of the photojournalist who was picturing in Sudan, I guess, and he came up with of a boy who was trying to go to a nearby rehabilitation center, and vultures was waiting nearby, and that photo became very famous about the crisis which was happening in Somalia or Sudan. I don't remember. I think it was Somalia, and that photojournalism became important. So what you should be doing, whether you should be protecting your human subject, or as a photographer, as a news journalist, you just report the vulture just sitting over there waiting for that child to die. So yeah, when we talk about social sciences, we don't think that we are going to harm or physically harm an individual or not. But in social science research also, these things happen. Not obviously not so much as in medical science, where say for example things come up where medical experimentation have been done, free medicines have been given to especially to see the effect of medicine on the individuals. Those things are happening, right? So anyway, the one is World Association of Medical Editors, which looks into the issue of how or what kind of ethical practices one should do. Another very important, and this is very important for us, this is COPE, that is Committee on Publication Ethics. So COPE was found in 1997 to address breach of research and publication ethics. Again, it is a voluntary body of editors. So what does this COPE do, and how do the COPE comes up or look into the ways in which important aspects in which those ethical considerations should be looked into. The first and foremost is study design and ethical approval. So what do you understand by study design and ethical approval? So if you look at the definition, it would say a good research, and again, when I'm saying you all this, it's not something which I'm coming up with. It is something which has been published in the website of the COPE itself, which calls about guidelines on good publication practices. So what are the guidelines of good publication practices? First is study design and ethical approval. So good research should be well adjusted, well planned, appropriately designed, and ethically approved. So the important thing is, when you are conducting your research, you should not lower your research standard so as to constitute what is known as misconduct. How can you lower your standard to get your research what you would call as misconduct? Say for example, when you are doing any experiment in a laboratory or in a clinical setting, you should have a well-written protocol. So if you are asking somebody, so you should have a research protocol, what you are asking him to do or her to do, what will be the result of that, and why you are asking him or her to do. That should be part of your design. That should be part of your design. if you are interviewing, if you are saying it that is going to be anonymous, so how you are going to make that anonymous, how you are that is going to play out. So that is very important, that your study design should have ethical control. It is just not about human. Even when it comes to the animals, it should have a full compliance with whatever the rules and regulations are there at local, national level bodies. You should have the proper license. You should have proper review protocols. In nutshell, when you are designing your study, you should look at it, what you want to do, and see and if your study is any way going to harm somebody. Say for example, just for example, in Bihar, there are a lot of places where farmers do practice or do come up with what you call as opium cultivation. Now we know opium cultivation is something which is illegal. But as a journalist, if you are doing an interview with the farmers whose life and livelihood depends upon opium cultivation, you should protect your source. Because see, nobody asked you to go and do an interview on opium cultivation. Reporting to the police is okay, but then if you report who is doing, where you have gone there as a journalist to interview them, that becomes very unethical, right? So protecting your source as a journalist therefore becomes very important. Number one. Number two, again, taking example from journalism. Say for example, if something has happened, and how do you, especially if the victim is a child, so how do you report that? How do you protect your victim? That again becomes very important. Next comes privacy versus news value, right? So if your research, whatever your proposal is going to be, how much you are going to protect and how much you are going to report, especially when it comes with celebrities, right? We want to know everything and small details about what our celebrities are doing and how they are doing that. Another thing which comes up, remember, and this is also coming up in COPE, that is conflict of interest. This is a very important thing in research, conflict of interest, right? So what is conflict of interest and how it comes up? So whom you are going to do research on, where you are getting your money from, those things becomes important. I will discuss about the conflict of interest in details, and finally about your authorship also, audience as a customer. So if you are in news business, so your audience is your customer. So more you are able to report live from the place, more you are able to come up with information which is not known to the public, more what you would call TRP your news channel is going to receive. So those things also becomes important. Anyway, again coming back to study design and ethical approval. So for COPE, this becomes very important, that whenever you are putting up your study design, you should have the ethical approval required for